good, YouTube? What's good, everybody? I'm gonna be making two videos today. Um, so today's video is about my New York Giants and do I think why do I think the New York Giants digressed this year? Um, I'm not the type of person to blame people for their actions or for their mistakes. But Giants fans are picking fights with the wrong ones. Okay? Now, if you look at the Giants right now, you would say with the weapons that they got, they could put up points. It may not be 30, 40, 50 points, but it could be somewhere in the 20 range, right? 27, 31 points, you know what I'm saying? But they have averaged 12.4 points per game. That's worser than that's worser than that's worser than the Patriots. That's worse than the Patriots. Now, you would have thought we won the division last year, but we went 9-7 and we won a divisional game, right? We are currently 1-5, right? While the Washington Redskins are 3-3. Now you could say, well, we should have been where the Washington Redskins are right now, or the Washington Commanders are right now, right? How did we get here? Who's to blame? You would have thought last year we would have built on what we did last year and get better. We've gotten significantly worse. Worse. Now, as you can see, we have the Commanders coming up, a division rival, which the Giants have owned the Commanders over the years. Average pass yards is their Commanders are averaging 250.0 passing yards, while we're completing 176.0, right? Average rushing yards. The Commanders don't necessarily run the ball all too well. They're averaging 87.8 rushing yards, right? While we're averaging 98.8. So we could beat them in the ground. If we could just consistently run the ball on them, they're great. We'll have a chance. Even though they have Chase Young, but he's coming back from his injury, so I don't expect him to, fly all over the field. Average total yards is obviously they're averaging more yards than us. 302.0 to 265.5. So the only area we have an advantage on them is rushing the ball, which we didn't even remotely do against the Bills. Barkley had, 91, 96 yards rushing. We didn't consistently run the ball with him. Now, I know he's not really Superman and he needs to take a break once in a while here and there, but, it is what it is. So, Sam Howell, 1,500 yards he's thrown. He's thrown for he's thrown for, he's thrown for 15, or is that 15 touchdowns? Wait a minute. Am I reading this right? But yeah, so like, who's to blame for the Giants' woes? Starts up front. If you look at the best teams in the NFL, they have one thing in common: structure. We do not have structure at all. Um, our coaching sucks bad. Um, I think we're gonna get a new offensive coordinator next year. I don't think Mike Kafka is gonna be back. I don't know who the hell hired Mike Kafka. He sucked as a backup and he sucks as an offensive coordinator. Now again, he's gonna get picked up by somebody else next year, but just not us. Brian Dable is gonna be safe. I know a lot of Giants fans want Brian Dable out, but we can't do that. You know? I mean, look at the past head coaches that we had. Ben McAdoo lasted 2 years. He was gone. Pat Shermer managed here 2 years. He was here 2 years. He's gone. Who else was here? Joe Judge was here 2 years. They booted him out. Tom, Tom Coughlin was our last dying breed at head coach. And then we had to kick him out because the fans wanted it to change. It was Yah who wanted Tom Coughlin out, right? And Tom Coughlin could have stayed here until his legs fell off. Him and Eli obviously was on the same page, but Eli Manning wasn't the same quarterback. He was deteriorating. He was bad. His mechanics was off. So again, we had to move on. I understand that. But we could have still kept Tom Coughlin, right? Patch him up for another 3 years. You know, because he was a wide receiver head coach as well. Like, why do you think Eli Manning had so much good wide receivers over the years? And I can name them all. Shoot. But I'm not going to because I already know who he had. You know? He had so many great wide receivers he threw to over the years. Some of them didn't pan out. Only two of them did pan out, and then the rest spoke for itself. You know, like I think we're gonna run it back with Brian Dable one more time, right? One more time. I don't know how many. I don't know how many seasons, or I don't know how many years Brian Dable is with us right now. But we can't bail out. We cannot bail out on him at all. I think he's going on to his third year, I believe. I believe he's going into his third year with us. So we had to give him some time. We had to give him some patience. You know, just like uh, just like the owner, not the owner, just like the general manager that we have, Joe Shane, right? Like, we're gonna give him time, right? Because this is not his fault. All this is not his fault. If we had some good, competent management with the Giants, we would have been looking a lot much better than we are right now. But for years, we have abandoned the offensive line. The offensive line, for years, we have abandoned it. Instead of picking offensive linemen, we pick, Odell Beckham Jr. Instead of picking offensive linemen, we picked Prince Mukamara. You know what I'm saying? Like, and on top of that, the Giants do not have a good track record at drafting at all. You could say they hit the park out of 2 drafts. 3 or 2 drafts, they hit the park. The rest was just miss. Like we had a chance to grab a certain player in the draft. Like if I look up New York Giants draft history, right? You could go back and look at that. Let me see. I'm trying to think of a year. 2020, right? Now, the 2019 draft class include Daniel Jones, Dexter Lawrence, DeAndre Baker, who was a bust, Andrew Thomas, who struggled his first year, but he redeemed himself. Kadarius Toney with the fourth pick. We could have went a different route. We could have chosen a different route. And then after that, that's the two. Okay, that's okay. So that was 2000. No, this is 2021, right? With the 20th pick, we picked Kadarius Toney, wide receiver out of Florida. The last receiver out of Florida we picked was Ike Hillard, which obviously nobody remembers him. Well, I do. He didn't really do too much with us. He balled out in the postseason a little bit, but other than that, he didn't really pan out. The 2022 draft class, we picked Kayvon Thibodeau, edge rusher from Oregon. He was with the 20th pick, okay? And then after that, we went Evan Neal, offensive tackle from Alabama, and we picked 17th, okay? So we've hit and missed, okay? DeAndre Baker, he was the 30th pick. We could have chose a different route. We could have chosen a different player. Like, I don't understand why the Giants suffer so bad when it comes to drafting. You would think, oh, this is New York, this is a big market. Like, we should know how to draft, right? Like when it comes to the Eagles, when it comes to the Cowboys, when it comes to the Ravens, to the Chiefs, why do they know how to draft so well, but we don't? Is there something in the water? Is there something in the water that we don't know about? Do they have better scouts than us? What is it? Because, I could go back even further, 2010. Let's go back to that 2010 draft class, right? The only person that was decent in that 2010 draft class was JPP. JPP was the only. Look at that. Okay, Le'Veon Joseph and JPP were the only two great players in that draft class. Look at that. We drafted JPP with the 15th pick overall, first round 15th pick, okay? And then the second round pick, we picked Le'Veon Joseph, okay? And then Chad Jones obviously never play for us because he got in that car accident, which, cut his career short. So we don't know what could have been Chad Jones, okay? And then after that, the picks was just bad. Philip Dillard, he didn't do crap. Mitch Petrus, he was garbage. Adrian Tracy, he was garbage. Matt Dodge, we all remember Matt Dodge, right? That punt that, should have went out of bounds and then it went straight to Deshaun Jackson. And, the rest was history. He took it back, and won it for the Eagles, right? Because that game was supposed to go to overtime. So, that was the worst draft class. Actually, not really. 2010 was not the draft. 2010 was not the worst draft class. At least we got two good picks in the first two rounds. Let's go back in that 2013 draft class, okay? Because drafting is very important. I know a lot of people are not gonna agree with me and say, "Oh, drafting doesn't matter." Drafting does matter because it's the teams the teams that you pick is they're gonna help you. They either gonna help you or hurt you moving forward. Okay. You look at okay, so this was obviously the worst draft class. 2013 was the worst draft class. Okay, we drafted Justin Pugh. Did he really pan out? Not really. Jonathan Hankins, he had some potential, but we didn't really want to pay him. DeMontre Moore was a bust. Ryan Nassib didn't really see any playing time. Cooper Taylor, he was trash. Eric Herman, he was trash. Michael Cox, he was trash. So, and then, if you go back and look at that 2014 draft class, you could say, okay, Odell was probably the only hit that we had, but how much did Odell really help us? Did Odell Beckham Jr. hurt us or help us? Okay. Now this is not a shot at Odell. But obviously we picked Odell with the 12th pick, right? And then after that we went again and drafted Weston Richburg, okay? And then after that, Jay Bromley, he was not really good. Andre Williams, he showed some flashes. Nat Burhay, who was trash. Devontae Kennard, he showed some promise, but he was just getting injured a lot. And Bennett Jackson, he was just trash. So, I mean, we just had bad experience, coach. I mean, drafting, you know. That's why we're losing games because we're not drafting well. If you draft well, your work will show on the field. I'm a firm believer in that. If you draft well, your work will show on the field. Look at the Eagles. Look how well they draft. Look at the Cowboys. Look how well they draft. Look at the production they're showing, right? You look at us when we draft. Like what happened to that philosophy? Pick the best player available, right? Well, that philosophy need to go out the window. Y'all need to come up with a new philosophy, okay? Because that philosophy is not working at all. The reason why we're losing is not the O-line. The O-line is part of the problem, but the main reason why we're losing these games is because of talent production. We're not getting talent. We're not getting talent. We're not getting production from our players. Okay, it's either you hit or you miss. Okay, that's just about it. It's either you hit on these draft picks or you miss on these draft picks. It's either you become that 2013 draft class or you become that 2020 draft class. All right? Because, a lot of people wanted the Giants to pick one of those quarterbacks, but we wind up picking Saquon Barkley. And obviously that panned out for us. He had a great rookie year, and after that he got hurt. And then after that he had that bounce back year, and then he got hurt again. And now this year he got hurt, but he came back, had a very good game against the Bills. But obviously, that game didn't really matter, That statistic about, Barkley needs Daniel Jones as Daniel Jones needs Barkley, like who really needs who. Like when Barkley and Jones is on the field at the same time, they have a, 91 or 81% chance. Not really percent chance, but they have an 81 percentile ratio, right? But when one of them is off the field, that dips all the way down to like 50, 61% or something like that. So they need both of them on the field to be productive because one can't live without the other, right? Like Daniel Jones needs Saquon Barkley as Saquon Barkley needs Daniel Jones. Even though Saquon Barkley did have himself a pretty good game, we lost, So this is why we were losing. because we're not good at drafting. We're not even good at developing players anymore. Okay, because it's one thing. There's two processes of drafting. One process is drafting a player. The second process is developing them, right? That's why you have multiple head coaches. That's why you have a O-line head coach, wide receiver head coach, linebacker head coach. It depends on where you draft. Defense or the offense. Okay? So when you draft these players, you have to coach them up to the best of your ability. You know? Because they're coming fresh out of high school. They're coming fresh out of college. So what they were taught to do in college isn't the same thing that they're taught to do in NFL. You know, the game of the speed is much faster. You know, so I don't blame the offensive line. I don't blame the coaches. I blame management and I blame drafting scouts. We need better scouters. We need scouters that know what they're doing. Because right now our scouters don't know what they're doing. And I don't want to go into next year's draft with the same scouters and they lay an egg or they draft a player that we're not really familiar with or not comfortable with. You know what I'm saying? They need to figure it out. Because right now, you can put all the pieces lined up, it's still going to be a hot mess. Okay? Because, again, once you bring these guys in, they have to get accumulated with the offense, right? They're not going to play with the ones and twos. They might play with the backups. So, you know, and especially if you know we don't even get practices like that anymore. You know, we don't have tour days no more. You know, everything is just shortened up. So, like little practice, like is like you're just gonna throw them in there and say, okay, do what you want to do, or do the best that you can do. You know, no. This is why when we got Justin Pugh, we didn't just throw him in there. You know, he had to not only work his way up, but he had to practice with the backups. You know, see how he does. You know, I mean, he looked a little bit rusty. I'm not gonna lie. You know, but for the most part, he held up his own. So that's what I got. I don't I don't know how Giants fans feel because every Giants fan is gonna have their opinion unbiased opinion. You know, some might blame the head coach, some might blame the offensive coordinator. You know, but again, it goes back to talent. It goes back to talent. This is why you see the same damn teams over and over and over and over and over again in these great situations. Prime example, the Ravens know how to draft. Despite what you want to say about the Ravens, they know how to draft. I mean, look how many great look how many great Raven players there were. You know, you had Terrell Suggs, you had Ray Rice. You know, despite his personal life, he was great. You know, I loved watching him. You know, number 27, he was great. He was a beast. You know, you had Ed Reed, you had Ray Lewis. You know, you picked up Jacoby Jones. You know, like they knew how to draft. They knew how to develop players. You know, the Steelers. Again, another organization that knows how to draft. So why can't we be these teams, or why can't we be those teams that know how to draft? Like, okay, every single year the Giants know how to hit these players. The Giants know how to hit their X, Y's, and Z's. Like, why every single year it's like, oh my God, we drafted Kayvon Thibodeau. He's a late bloomer. As soon as we drafted Kayvon Thibodeau, I already knew he was a slow development player. Cause I looked up his tapes in college. Cause whatever he was doing in college was working. As soon as he got into the NFL, all that crap just went out the window. You know, like if you compare Kayvon Thibodeau to JPP hit the nitro button, right? Like if you look at his first year, he was balling. Yeah, it took him a couple of times, because he got injured. But when he was upright, boy, he was very fun to watch. You know, he was very fun to watch. And as a Haitian American, I was going to buy JPP's jersey because I'm not a big fan on jerseys. But I was gonna buy a JPP jersey, but obviously he wound up getting traded because of that Fourth of July firework incident, right? So the Giants said, you know what, you're no use for us anymore, So they just tossed him up like a bag of chips, you know, and then he wound up playing for the Ravens, I believe, the next following year. And then after that, he went to he played for the Bucks. And then after that, I don't know where he's at right now, but I mean, do I want JPP back on on the roster? Hell yeah. But again, it will only enhance the defense. We don't need help on defense. Now, obviously, we had our woes on defense. That 30 burger the Dallas Cowboys put on us, we was just not unprepared. We was just not prepared. I don't know if that had to do with 9/11. Obviously, a lot of people were really choked up about that. So maybe that played a part. But the Dallas Cowboys was ready to play that night, and we wasn't. But to me, like I said again, talent, man. We got to do a better job drafting. We have got to, you know. Because like I said again, you look at these teams, every single year they're in the playoffs. It shows. If you do your homework, if you go out and you draft the best players available, it shows. They may not be late bloomers. They might not be a chip off the old block. They might not be superstars right away. But if you coach them up right, it shows. So for me, I'm going to blame 99% of ownership, okay, and scouting department. That's just me. Y'all might have different opinions. Y'all might not like Brian Dable. Y'all might not think Mike Kafka is right for the job. But for me, talent comes first, okay? Talent and production comes first. It's like a marriage, hand in hand, If you scout good, your production is going to show on the field. And every single time you see these teams in these playoffs, you wonder why. Because they don't put crappy teams in playoffs. Well, unless you get lucky or whatnot. But, like look at that 2010 season. We went 10-6 and we missed the playoffs. Why? Because we had a crappy division record. We swept Washington twice, and then Philly and Cowboys swept us. So we finished with a 2-4 record, division wise, and then we finished with a 10-6 record, which is good enough to get us in the playoffs. But we didn't qualify for the playoffs. I don't wonder why. Which was stupid. I didn't really believe that crap. Your division record decides whether or not you get in or not. It's not like we had a bunch of scenarios where certain teams had to win. You know what I'm saying? I think we did. I think we did. Because I think we needed the Lions to beat the Vikings. No, we needed the Vikings to beat the We needed the Vikings to beat the Packers. We had one win, right? We needed the Vikings to beat the Bears. That happened. I remember we needed the Vikings to beat the Bears. That happened, and then we needed the Lions to beat the Packers, and that didn't happen. So therefore, we were mathematically eliminated. So maybe the scenario did play a part, but yeah, man. I mean, it goes back to scouting, man. Like if the Giants can do a better job of scouting and just put that on the field, put put their product on the field, you're gonna be looking at a different New York Giants team of old, okay? But they need to get this offensive line right first, you know, because you can have all the weapons, but if you can't pass protect longer than 20 minutes, not even 20 minutes, 20 seconds, your quarterback is gonna be a sitting duck. I don't care if you have prime. I don't care if you have prime Mike Vick back there. I mean, Mike Vick didn't have the best offensive lineman either at the time he was playing in Atlanta, but at least he made it work. You know, he had Crippler. I believe that was his tight end. I mean, he didn't really have a big time playmaker wide receiver. I think he had Price. I think he had Price. I'm not sure. Um, but at least he made it work. Russell Wilson had a shitty O line, and with the Seahawks, at least he made it work. Actually, he had a running game to go with along with it, Marshall Lynch, and then plus he had the Legion of Boom to fall back on. But you know, the Giants just need to. The Giants just need to, you know, figure this offensive out. You know, and don't expect these offensive linemen to play right away. They're gonna go through the same thing Justin Pugh went through, right? Because they're fresh. They're fresh off of. They're fresh. They're fresh off of old team, not old teams, but they're fresh off of coming here. So whatever they did over there with their respective teams, the Giants might be doing something different. So they're not gonna throw them out real quick, because they might throw this. They might throw the ball. They might snap the ball low, high, and that will result Tyrod, chasing it and stuff like that. Like I've seen a lot of scenarios where there's a backup center, and then the backup center doesn't know the snap count. So he just snaps it without the quarterback's approval, and then it goes over his head. Just like how, that Super Bowl with Peyton Manning in the Seahawks, right? People don't know that center that snapped the ball over Peyton Manning's head, that was a backup center. A lot of people didn't even peep that out. That center was a backup center. So when